because I'm bored of my welcome to the podcast line, have a random dog fact instead. Adult dogs have 42 teeth. The upper jaw has 20 and the lower jaw 22. Today, I'm going to record an addendum to the off-leash podcast I did the other week, episode 27. In that podcast, I said I don't let my off-leash dogs run up to on-leash dogs. As the week continued and I kept editing Chai's puppy diary, I realized that is not true at all when it comes to my Mexican life. It's only been true in my Western European and US lives. I adapt to the surrounding culture of dog keeping. Here in Mexico, if you have your dog on a leash, you're presumed responsible for making it clear if you don't want them to meet other dogs. Your own body language or your dog's equipment communicate as much. Muzzle, prong collar, you holding the leash short. If I see someone like that, I will not let my dog run up. But someone just walking a pet dog on a leash? I don't care. It is assumed that dogs will run up to that dog because it is an off-leash world. So here, the responsibility to keep everyone safe is on the person with the aggressive dog. It's not on the off-leash dog owners. It's not on the don't worry, he's friendly folks. No one yells that here anyways. If at all, someone would say the opposite. Please don't let your dog come close, mine is not friendly. And if another dog has no recall and is still off-leash, and I have a dog-reactive dog on a leash, I am responsible for keeping my dog from eating yours. That is the unspoken rule. So here, personal ethics-wise, I want to be able to recall my dogs away from other dogs. Game recalls from all dogs. Chai recalls from all dogs except her best buddy Kiba when seeing her without having played with her yet. That's because if I see someone with a not friendly dog, I'll want to be able to call my dog before they approach to make sure everyone stays safe and no one needs to worry. But the average pet dog on a leash? My dog gets to say hi because that's the cultural norm around here and it works just fine. Everything works just fine, even for the owners of quote-unquote aggressive dogs, because almost nobody gets all upset if there is a dog quarrel or someone lets their off-leash dog run up to an on-leash dog. Most people's day is not ruined when that happens because it is what happens all the time and every day. You don't expect it not to happen, and that, I believe, is why people get way less upset about dogs running up to their dog than they do, for example, in the US, even if their dog does not like it when other dogs come to say hi. It is the social norm among dog folks in Mexico City, and the norm is being accepted by almost everyone. The fancier the neighborhood and the more uppity the owner, the less likely they are to accept that social norm. But quote-unquote normal people do. So a dog like Grit, I would never have her live in the city. She could not live in the city any more than she could live in a rural place of free-roaming dogs because she would always have to be leashed and muzzled, and that is, in my mind, low life for a dog. I'm sure it's a life for many dogs, but not for a dog under my care. Dogs under my care get all the training they need to get all the freedom they can possibly have. And in my opinion, dogs like Grit don't have a good enough life here. Or at least they wouldn't if I were keeping everyone else's dogs safe in the way I do. That's it for my long-winded postscriptum to episode 27. My dogs get to greet on-leash dogs, and off-leash dogs greet my leash dogs here in Mexico. There's something else I wanted to say about recalls. Another student in that same round of Out and About asked a brilliant question that I answered on their homework thread, but can't help but want to answer here as well. Assuming you want to maximize your dog's freedom, how do you maintain your brilliant recall once you have trained it? How do you make sure it stays strong? I gave my student 3 rules for maintaining a strong recall and will share them here with you. 1. Keep the majority of your recalls both fun and easy. For example, I just called my puppy with her formal recall cue into the room where I've set everything up to do a shaping session, which she loves. At least 75% of the time, call your dog to have dinner, to start a play session, to get into the car and go on a drive if they like that, and so on. Make sure no more than 1 out of every 4 recalls is actually difficult for your dog. Rule number 2. Anytime you do call in a difficult situation, send your dog back to the fun thing you called them away from if it's safe to do so. For example, playing with a dog friend, swimming, or chasing squirrels. Rule number 3. Don't nag or pester unless you have a working dog who doesn't mind. Those dogs do exist, but most dogs are not like that. In practice, this means that if, for example, you meet a dog friend, only call your dog once out of play for practice purposes. The rest of the time, let the dogs have fun together. Play voluntary check-ins, but don't interrupt their play with recalls. We may occasionally go over that once-a-session ratio in the training phase. For example, when we need to drive somewhere or set up a time-consuming distraction scenario. But once you are in the maintenance stage of your recall, stick to rule number 3. This is both going to keep your recall well-oiled and prevent it from becoming nagging or pestering to your dog. Alright, that's it for today. Happy training, everyone! I can't wait for later this week when my friend Kyla is coming through Mexico City, and I may just rope them into coming on the podcast for another wonderfully geeky episode. Bye!